Hello, friends. Your old Uncle Andy here, the UC Panda himself. And I'm coming to you tonight with something a little bit different. We are going to go ahead and give you a betting lesson. It's going to be the first of many betting lessons. I've been talking to a lot of people, a lot of friends and family online, offline, and they really don't understand betting. And so I'm here to give you some pointers about it and sort of help you get into this racket. Also help you to not hopefully lose money and so that you can maybe get a good idea of what you're doing. So this will be our first betting lesson and classes in session. First thing to understand when you embark upon sports betting is to look at the line. And this is a typical football line. And all lines in most sports that we would have here in the United States, baseball, hockey, basketball, most things you would be betting on, the line is going to look something similar to this. And you may be looking at this and saying, well, this is pretty overwhelming. What is all this? We've got the Bengals and Ravens. We know who they are, a couple of football teams. We got a money line, a point spread, and some of you probably know what that is. You've got a total. But what's this 49.5? What's the minus 110 behind it? And what's all this mess on the bottom? This full game public bet percentage and 72% purple for Baltimore and the minus 140 next to it. What is this? What's going on here? And that is what I hope to explain to you over the next few betting lessons. It's going to probably take several to at least sort of get you up to speed, but don't worry, I'm here to help you. So first thing to understand in sports betting in terms of terminology is what's a favorite and what's the underdog. In this particular example, the Ravens are the favorite. In other words, Vegas thinks they're going to win, and the Bengals are the underdog, and Vegas expects the Bengals to not win. These numbers can shift over time. Like, let's say the Ravens and Bengals, the day before the game, it came out the quarterback from one of the teams is hurt. Now the backup has to play. Well, then in that instance, probably the favorite and the underdog would switch. The team, if the Ravens were favored and it turned out Lamar Jackson was injured, now the Ravens are probably going to be the underdog. But here's the trick. If you bet the Ravens 5 minutes before they announced the starting quarterback was injured, it doesn't matter in terms of your betting ticket. You don't get to cancel your ticket. Your ticket is your ticket. And your ticket is at the odds at which you bought it at. So that's one thing with sports betting you've got to wait on sometimes, especially if maybe the quarterback early on in the week is questionable. Maybe he got banged up last week and it's an open question as to whether or not he's going to play. You don't want to bet that team on a Wednesday. You want to wait until it's for certain that he's playing or not playing before you go ahead and make that bet. So that is step one in understanding betting, the underdog versus the favorite. I think we have a question from back here in the back of the room.
What is a money line bet?
That's a good bet. That's a good question. The question was, what is a money line bet? And a money line bet is the probably easiest bet you can make in all of sports betting. It's a simple proposition. Who's going to win the game? I bet the Ravens are going to win. I put my money down. If the Ravens win, I get some money. How much money is really an open question. I think the Bengals are going to win. You bet your money on the Bengals win, we get some money. Now, how much money we're going to get depends on those numbers underneath where it says money. Even though it's a simple, straightforward proposition, some money line bets are good bets and other money line bets are not good bets. In this particular example, if you bet the Ravens and you want to make a $1 profit, what you need to do is bet $1.40. That's what that minus 140 means. In other words, when you bet, to get your profit, you need to bet $1.40. Now you'll get your initial $1.40 back, and then you'll get your profit for a total payout of $2.40 on your wager of $1.40. That's how you turn a profit. And for a single proposition, the idea of betting $1.40 to win $1, that's pushing it for me. Now, for some other people, it's not pushing it. So conversely, in the case of the Bengals in this particular example, if you bet $1 on the Bengals, you'll get $1.20 in profit. That's what that plus 120 means. It's profit. You get the $1.20 in profit, plus you get your initial dollar bet back for a total of $2.20 returning on your dollar bet. That's a pretty good bet. Now, that's not to say that all money line bets with a plus besides them are a good bet. On opening day of the college football season, I think it was Towson came into play, UC, and they were probably a plus, I don't know, let's say 4,000 to win. Well, they weren't going to win. They were never going to win. So even though Towson was a 40-1 bet, it would be like buying a Powerball ticket. You'd have been better off buying a Powerball ticket than taking that bet, even though it was 40-1, because there was just the slightest, most remote chance of that happening. So that wouldn't be a good investment, even though if it did pay off, it would hit at 40-1. So there are good bets on the money line and bad bets. And really it's up to you to determine how much risk you want to assume. Like I said, $1.40 on a NFL favorite, that's probably about as high as I would go for a single bet. So a little bit more about this business about the minus 140 and the plus 120. For a betting favorite, any amount over minus 101 is called the juice, the chalk, or the vig. You've probably heard me talk about, well, I didn't want to bet this because it was too juicy. In the case of the Ravens here, it's approaching being too juicy for me to bet. I don't want to risk $1.40 to win just $1. But that's going to be up to you. Now, you may be saying, well, why do the sports books do this? Why are they charging me 40 cents more to go ahead and bet the Ravens? Well, they're doing that because it's a premium on accepting the bet, number one. And number two, it's more likely the Ravens are going to win the game. And this past Sunday, that's precisely what happened. The Ravens did win the game. So the book doesn't want to put itself in a position of liability like that. Just like my example of Cincinnati and Towson on the opening weekend of college football. It was an almost overwhelming certainty that Cincinnati was going to beat Towson, and any money on the Bearcats, it had to come with a premium. It had to come with a lot of juice, a lot of vig on it to protect the interests of the sports book. I mean, they're running a business too. And one thing we'll talk about maybe tomorrow or later in the week on spread bets, where, one side's laying points or how many ever points they're laying. Most of those bets are a minus 110. And some of you may still get upset about that. Why is the sports book charging me this 10 cents, this vig, this juice, this chalk? And then I have to lay points on the Ravens if that's what you wanted to do here. Why are they doing that? Well, the sports books need to do that to remain profitable. The sports books make a lot of money, but they make it on volume. And that's how they build all those nice shiny buildings out there in Vegas. So that's how they have to turn a profit, is by doing that. So probably the last thing I would say about money line wagering is use your judgment, use your common sense. It's a bad idea to go ahead and risk $3 to win $1. And you'll see bets like that all over the college board. You'll see bets worse than that. So don't be what we call in our business a bridge jumper. And there probably were some bridge jumpers Saturday night who had Alabama minus whatever they were, probably minus 2,500, let's say, on the line to beat Vanderbilt, and they lost. So in other words, if you had Alabama Saturday night, you were betting $1 to win $1. And I know that sounds stupid. Nobody would do that. Well, people do that all the time. There's all sorts of stories where people in these Vegas sports books will risk the $100,000 on something, and it may just pay them back $250, because in their mind, this is a sure thing. There's never a sure thing in our business, but in their mind, it's a sure thing. It's going to pay. So I'll go ahead and risk my $100,000 to win $250. Well, you and I wouldn't do that, but there are people out there who would. But in a more realistic example, you have to decide for yourself, when is a risk too much? Is it too much to risk $2 to win $1? I think it is, but maybe you don't. And maybe under the right circumstances, it might be a good idea for you. But that's just one thing you'll have to consider for yourself. And when we get together next, we will discuss spread betting, getting points, taking points, laying points, things of that nature. So we'll see everybody next time on the next installment of Uncle Andy's Sports Betting Lessons. Class dismissed.